Good morning, everybody. I figured today was a good front yard kind of a day. I'm going to have to pay attention to my button. It keeps coming undone. So I'll show a little cleavage. Anyways, I'm Rita Hickman, body-mind expert, shiatsu massage therapist, and I help women get their minds and bodies back if they've had toxic and narcissistic relationships, whether they're in it now or whether they're recently removed from it or whether they're healing from it as trauma. That's my specialty. And so today we are going to talk about breaking free of the grip of a narcissist, or a narcissist's power is a better way to say it. So one of the biggest challenges that women who are in toxic relationships, or men, have is that usually in the rest of their lives, in other parts of their lives, they're extremely strong. They're extremely resilient. I was just having this conversation yesterday about how, someone's mother-in-law is in the outer world, in the public world, she's very forceful. She's very vocal. She annoys people because she's so strong, because her energy is so pushy and powerful. But in reality, inside of her, it's because she's very vulnerable. So sounds like a narcissist, right? But it also sounds like a lot of us who maybe we are more resilient. I mean, one of the great things about my mom is that she could handle anything. This was a woman that, grew up in poverty on a farm, whose dad died when she was 16, and they kept the farm. I mean, this whole crazy story. So, it's really the thing that gets in the way of breaking out of a narcissist's power are the secrets and the strength that we have. Because how do you say, when you're such a strong human being, such a strong woman or man, let's say, that you are feeling victimized? That as soon as you walk into a certain relationship or around certain people, that you are transported back to a place of submission or a place of fear and insecurity, a pulling in. So, I mean, here's this whole duality of strong, capable, amazing, resilient, smart, funny, interesting people who, when they get in certain situations, end up falling back into a really weird codependent state of not feeling secure and feeling controlled and manipulated and helpless and out of control of how they feel. And when you have that duality like that, when you've got those two different parts of you, where one is super strong and the other one feels so weak, we end up being very ashamed. There are a lot of secrets. You don't want to tell people, that this happens to you. And so the outside world just sees, women who are in toxic relationships either as extremely strong or very judgmental. Like, well, why would you let that happen to you? Why would you let people treat you that way? I wouldn't let people treat me that way. And, why don't you just leave? Or why didn't you just do this or that? I mean, people who haven't acknowledged, their own wounds and their own issues in life tend to be pretty judgmental. And so it's hard for women or men who are in toxic relationships where they get into that situation and they lose control, control over themselves. They lose the power to stand up for themselves and speak their mind. No one wants to admit that. No strong, functional, capable, smart, funny human being wants to admit that there are times that they fall back into a pattern of being afraid and into a pattern of feeling out of control of the situation. And so narcissistic and toxic relationships, one of the biggest problems are the secrets. So how does this happen? Well, typically we have something that happens to us that is trauma, and we're not able to process through it. And so every time we get into those situations, into those dynamics, into those personality traits or the energy that somebody carries. A lot of times it's the energy that they carry. We can feel it. When we end up in those situations, it launches us back into a time in our life when we were helpless, when we did feel out of control, right back to that trauma. So we end up continuing to loop around and protecting the trauma because it's way too scary to look at, because we can't do it alone, because we don't trust people to help us out, because we think everybody's going to judge us. We think everybody's going to think less of us. We'll lose what little power that we have in the first place. And so the cycle keeps continuing. You just keep going around and around and around. And in, let's say, 75% of your life, you are dynamic, successful, amazing. But when you end up in this situation, like when families get together for holidays, everybody falls right back into that trauma, right back into that role that they used to play, because they haven't worked through it yet. They haven't allowed themselves to be vulnerable with the right people so that they can open up and clear it out and evolve and grow up and integrate what they know now with what they didn't know when the trauma originally happened. So how do we break free? There are a couple different ways. One of the things that keeps us stuck in that pattern is because over time, when we go into a certain state, it becomes very familiar to our bodies. So there's a very physical aspect. And the choices that we make and the thoughts that we think, they sort of keep us stuck in that physical space. That brain wiring, that nervous system wiring, it keeps us right back into that physical reaction or response to something. So a couple days ago, I was talking with someone about altered states of reality and looking at what altered states really mean. An altered state of reality doesn't mean that you just went on an LSD trip, although that can be an altered state of reality. Altered states of reality are when you look at a situation, when you look at your reality through a different lens, through a different set of eyes, through a different physical experience. When I was, a long time ago, when I was originally getting my massage therapy license, I would drive into Chicago about an hour and a half each way, something like 4 days a week. And I started to have hip problems while I was driving, because of the gas and the brake, and that was a dicey hip already, and it would get inflamed and painful. And so I decided, what, if I'm going to be driving all this way, I need to have more cushioning. So I started to sit on a pillow. And what it did is it raised me up. And I looked out of the windshield now through a different perspective, a different state of eyes. That could be called a different state of reality. You're in a different place. You're looking at the world differently. And just by raising my butt, 2 or 3 inches, it changed my perspective. It changed how I saw the situation. And I was able to better understand where other people were coming from, better understand a bigger version of reality than the one that I'd always had, because I was 5'1". My torso's only a certain length, my neck's only a certain length, my legs are only a certain length. And so I got used to over time that was the view of the world that I had. When you start to change the view of the world, whether you use a pillow to sit in your car and look at it differently, or whether you look at the world from the top of a Ferris wheel, or whether you take some sort of mind-altering drug, or whether you change your vitamins even, or change any of your habits, what happens is you start looking at the world in a different way. You have an altered state of reality. And when you start to let yourself, encourage yourself to see the world differently, you see a bigger picture. You understand things better, and it's that understanding that changes you. It's that altered state of reality that changes how you see the situation, how you understand the situation, how you react to the situation. And when you change that, When you change how you see things, you change, because now you respond differently. Now you break the pattern. So it's the secrets and the fear of the secrets that keep us trapped in that age when we were traumatized. And many of us has many, many, many traumas. And so we have to go back and clean them up over time, you know. So yeah, there can be like a linchpin, but still we're walking around. Most people are walking around as the walking wounded. So you have to recognize that you've been holding on to secrets. You've been protecting yourself, hiding yourself from this trauma. And the way to break free of that narcissist control, because they use your reaction to your trauma as a way to keep power over a situation, over a relationship. That's why they look for people who are already traumatized, because they're safe, you know, and that's why many empaths or compassionate people end up in relationships with narcissists, because they've worked very hard to be safe, to work on their traumas, to be kind to other people. They've worked very hard to be non-judgmental and kind with everybody but themselves, let's say. So if you're ready to change how you see the world, to grow up and evolve that part of you, then this is what I'd like you to do today. I'd like you to find at least one way today and another way sometime this week where it changes your perspective, changes how you see the world, changes how you interact with the world. And when you do that, I want you to use it as a healing process, as a healing time to say, you know what new information can I glean from this? What new information will help me see the world in a better way or in a different way, so that I don't stay trapped in my memories, I don't stay trapped in my reaction. When you start to touch those secrets, when you start to touch those experiences and bring them out into the open with safe people, with people who can support and love and understand you, and they do exist. Maybe you've been trying with other people. I remember when I was growing up, I tried to speak my truth. I tried to let people know what was going on with me to the best of my ability, many adults. And the adults, because they were busy, they had issues of their own, they didn't understand, whatever it may be, they couldn't be present for me. But that's not true with everybody. You have to find people who are there and present and can listen to you and help you out and understand where you're coming from. And when you do that, you can start to let your secrets go. And you can start to look at the world through a different set of eyes, through a set of eyes that has been supported and loved and cared about and nourished and nurtured. Most of the work that I do with myself is with me anymore. It's me giving myself an altered state of reality, whatever that may look like. New experiences, as my mentor would say. If you don't know what to do the thing you haven't done before. And by doing that and taking the time to be present and processing through it, I'm able to see a bigger world. And I'm able to reclaim those parts of myself that I judged, that I pushed away, that I was too afraid to invite in because I was ashamed, or I thought that other people would judge me. One of the best new experiences you can have is when you share the things which are most painful to you with someone who cares, with someone who understands, who can witness what you've been going through. That is one of the most healing things, to get those secrets out, to get them unstuck, to break the trap and break the control. For whatever reason, a narcissist needs control, either their own wounds or mental health or a combination of everything, or maybe they're just jerks, you know, whatever it may be. Maybe they were raised entitled. Lots of different reasons people behave that way. And when you start to take back your power to get the experiences that you need, that you didn't get when you were younger or when the trauma happened, to give yourself a new perspective, to look at it through a different set of eyes, to get the support and the love, and to get those secrets up and out, even if they're just to yourself. Even if you just spend time with yourself, admitting the feelings that you had and what happened to you. This is a huge part of breaking that grip. Because when you heal your traumas, what happens is that suddenly you're not the sort of a person that a narcissist wants to be with. The dynamics of your relationships change because you show up differently. Or many times, the narcissists that have their own traumas or mental health issues, you're able to help them move forward. You're able to help them get their secrets out and feel heard and witnessed, because you know what it's like. You become that person that other people can trust and other people can share their secrets with. That's where you're going. That's how you evolve. You become a trustworthy, supportive, loving person, not because you're a doormat or codependent, but because you see someone. You see them clearly. You see past their wounds and past their issues because you know what it's like to release your own. So if that's who you want to be, if you want to make a big difference in the world, you have to do this work. You have to share the secrets. You have to go on adventures where you look at the world differently. It's critical that you do this, because only by understanding that you don't have to do this alone, understanding that you aren't the only one that's going through this, and understanding that there are people out there that can help guide you on your way. When you start recognizing that and getting those new experiences of love and kindness and joy and compassion and support, that's how everything really starts to change. So if you want to break free, you can start with something small, like doing the thing you haven't done before, whatever it may look like. You can go on a vacation by yourself. You can go to a movie by yourself. You can ask somebody to go to a movie with you. Maybe that's what's unusual. You can go see a movie that you would normally never see. Maybe that's unusual. You can do things which challenge you at a very small level, looking at the world differently. And when you start to look at the world differently, it grows and it changes, and you start to shift and change. And you realize that the world is a very big place, and that you don't have to stay stuck in your trauma or in a toxic relationship anymore. You get to change yourself, which changes your relationships, okay? So if you want to break free, you can do it in a very fun way. Sometimes it's just eating a different food you never ate before, or going someplace you've never visited before, or talking to somebody you would never talk to before. I know many women who, they were never attracted to somebody, because they weren't a full-blown narcissist, and now they are. Now they've decided to engage or have relationships with or get to know people who are nice, people who aren't out to get you, So, if you need a little bit of help with this, we have a few options. One is I partnered with someone who wrote a book on narcissism, which is very cool. 2, there's a private group coaching program that I do that goes for 8 weeks. The link is above in the title. Or 3, you can, 3, you can join the Healthy Mindsets to Cope with Narcissists group. You can look it up on Facebook. You can friend me. All of that, I put out lots of great information and content all the time. Or if you want a little bit more help, if you want someone to help hold your hand and guide the process and get you there faster and make sure that you get the things that you need, direct you in the right direction so you save years and years and years, of trying to do it on your own, then contact me, because I work one-on-one with women, and we come up with a game plan and support and the nourishment. You get expert guidance to get to the other side of this, to break through these secrets and to break the control that a narcissist may have over you, because it's something we have to start admitting, that we aren't always strong. We aren't always capable, and that's okay. You just don't admit it to everybody. Admit it to the people that can care about you first, and then as you get stronger, then you'll be more comfortable admitting it to other people, because you recognize that it doesn't make you vulnerable or weak. It makes you human and strong, okay? So I hope you have a great day. Looking forward to seeing you tomorrow. And I hope you like my flowers. They're very important to me. I'll talk to you later. Bye.